Hello everyone. Today I really wanted to talk about deconditioning your mind and removing limitations, particularly from the chaos magic perspective. However, even if you are not a practitioner of chaos magic, if you are any sort of occultist or spiritualist, I feel like the content of this video is applicable to magic because true magic really, in my opinion, happens when there is internal transformation as well as external transformation. So we're going to talk about the ego, we're going to talk about deconstructing your mind, removing brainwashing, and I may throw a little bit of my Buddhist background into this video as well. So if you're not familiar with what chaos magic is, I have a whole playlist on the homepage of my YouTube channel. Feel free to go check that out. This video is not going to be discussing what chaos magic is, but an integral part of chaos magic is paradigm jumping. This is also known as belief shifting, and this is the process of intentionally adopting and discarding beliefs that relate to the magical practitioner's objectives. And the idea is by fully immersing yourself in a particular belief system, you are able to tap into your subconscious mind to really shape and create the reality you wish to see. I would like to take this a step further and say that frequent and successful paradigm jumping helps you to decondition your ego, it removes limitations, it removes brainwashing, and it really strengthens your ability to believe in whatever it is that you're doing. But again, you don't have to be a chaos magic practitioner in order to really reap the benefits of doing something similar to this. So I want to talk about why I believe practitioners should work to decondition their mind, working with ego and separation from that ego, not a full detachment, but enough to where you can assess your ego from a more objective standpoint, and why I think paradigm jumping is just so necessary for anyone. If one can shed limiting beliefs, then that person has more of an opportunity to become enlightened and more effective in their magical practice. I'd like to use an example here of relationships with people. Have you ever been in a relationship with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and at the time you thought the relationship was amazing? You thought you were going to marry this person, that you had a future together, and we tend to be in these positions where we overly romanticize situations that may not be that good. And then let's say you go through a breakup from this partner and you realize later on, looking back at it through a different lens, that, oh my gosh, that was actually a horrible relationship. It was toxic. We fought all the time. I'm so glad that I'm not marrying that person. But in the relationship, in the moment, you had rose-colored glasses on and didn't realize all of the toxicity that was around you. This is just a very, very watered down version of something that you believed in, that you thought was beneficial at the time, that was actually detrimental for you. And had you opened your eyes and seen the bigger picture, you could have seen that there was a healthier path available to you. Or let's say you grew up in a cult or some sort of religious group, and there was this indoctrination process where you have now left that religious group and you want to believe in other things, yet still in the back of your mind you have that brainwashing, that indoctrination ingrained into you that you just can't let go. I personally have a lot of friends that have left the church. Not that there's anything wrong with church. I also have friends that are Christian, so I'm not trying to say anything bad about any particular form of spirituality, but I do have friends that have left really, really strict churches, and then they try to believe in something different because they don't want to be part of that religious group anymore, but they can't help these feelings in the back of their mind of, oh my gosh, if I do this, I'm going to hell, or if I do this, something really bad is going to happen to me. And they may not necessarily believe in God anymore, but they still have that brainwashing that makes them feel like something bad is going to happen if they don't do X, Y, Z. Or let's say that you're someone that really wants to work with spirits, but you don't believe in them. Maybe you are a bit more of an atheist. You don't believe that any sort of spiritual entities exist, but you are really actively interested in working with spirits. You want to believe that they exist, you just can't, because there is a limiting belief in your mind that spirits are not real. And I'm not arguing here whether spirits are real or not real. I actually personally believe in multiple dimensions and timelines, so I believe there's an opportunity for spirits to be real and not real, but I'm not going to go into that in this video. Whatever your perspective is, whether you want to believe in God, you don't want to believe in God, you have limiting beliefs about yourself and your abilities and what you can achieve over the course of your lifetime, shedding limiting beliefs is necessary even if you don't believe that they are limiting in the moment. It allows you to experience personal growth. It opens up new opportunities for you. And when we let go of these limiting beliefs, we really do become a lot more confident and we become more resilient in the face of whatever challenges may come to us. Instead of being held back by negative thought patterns and these limiting beliefs that are holding us back from doing the things that we want in life, we are better able to adapt and overcome these obstacles. When I began frequent and regular paradigm jumping, or or belief shifting, I went through this process that I can't quite articulate. I've tried to articulate it before in other videos, but something happened to my brain. It broke down barriers and it strengthened my ability to believe in whatever it is that I'm doing. The amount of confidence that I have in myself now to be able to manipulate my reality and go after the things that I want with the strongest conviction possible is astronomical compared to what it used to be. When a new idea, a new thought process, a new paradigm is presented to me, I have much less resistance and I'm a lot more open-minded to seeing all sides of the story, seeing all perspectives, and accepting that something else other than what I think could or could not be true. The one thing that I truly wish for all of humanity is for us to be so much more open-minded than we are. I think a lot of us think that we're open-minded, but then we are presented with ideas or thoughts from someone else that really just rub us the wrong way. And a lot of us get really defensive and stubborn and cling to our existing beliefs, and we say, that's not true. We dig our feet deeper into the ground and stand tall and say, you're wrong, and here's why. I wish there was a lot more open-mindedness from all of humanity on everything, every subject that exists. I wish that we could all recognize that we're all just wandering around trying to make sense of this world and that nobody is 100% correct, including me, including what I say in this video. So if you want to begin this process, I think the first step is to really recognize what your ego is. I've talked about the ego in a couple other videos. I highly recommend, if you have not seen my video, How to Navigate a Spiritual Awakening, I will link it down below in the description box, because in that video I talked a lot about the ego and the higher self and the union between the two. So I'm not going to reiterate everything that I already said in that video, but I do think that conversation really plays into a lot of what we're talking about today. So the first half of that video is about the ego and the higher self and the union, and then the second half of that video is where I actually talk about the stages of a spiritual awakening. So you can skip that part if that's not what you're interested in, but definitely listen to the first part of that video. So your ego is really your persona. It's your likes, your dislikes, your memories, your attachments. It's everything that makes you you. When I think about myself and I say Ivy is attached to all of these ideas, Ivy is attached to all of these likes and dislikes, Ivy has attachments to all these people and events and memories, that is my ego. Ivy is the ego, but I am not solely just my ego. It's important to be able to separate yourself from your ego and look at it a little bit more objectively. That way, when new ideas and opportunities are presented to you and you feel yourself digging your feet into the ground a little bit and getting a little stubborn, you can recognize that, wait a minute, that is my ego that's feeling stubborn right now. Why? Why is my ego having resistance to this new idea in the moment? I also think it's important to really kind of reflect on more Buddhist philosophies here. I really enjoy the idea of impermanence and non-self. Beliefs and ideas are not inherently true just because you believe them, and they're also not necessarily you. You do not have to have attachments to these things. And really, by letting go of these attachments to any sort of fixed identities or beliefs, you can really free yourself from those limitations. I also really like the idea of non-attachment in general. Not completely, and this is one of the reasons why I kind of left the Buddhist scene after about 5 years of actively practicing. But I do think it's important to have somewhat of a relationship with non-attachment, because to be human is to suffer. And to be human is to have these attachments, and the attachments themselves cause suffering. And so to practice non-attachment is to reduce that suffering, because it's the attachments that are making you suffer as a human. If you are able to recognize that clinging so tightly onto certain beliefs, or maybe even certain expectations of a situation, only leads to suffering, you're able to better pick and choose your attachments and whether you do want to allow yourself to attach to certain things. So if you haven't already watched that Spiritual Awakenings video, go back and watch that and listen to the section about the ego and the higher self, so you can get a better understanding of what the ego is and really how to start creating that separation. The next thing I would advise for someone to do is to really sit down and journal and start writing down all of your beliefs, everything that you believe to be true. Whether you personally think that it's limiting or not, it doesn't matter. Or maybe you simply journal on things that came up today that made you feel uncomfortable, and then journal about why they made you feel uncomfortable. If somebody said something that you disagreed with, write down what they said and try to dissect why your ego disagrees with that. I think it's really important to work with our subconscious beliefs as well. So to even just ask yourself, not just where these beliefs came from, but what past experiences led to the development of these beliefs. Was there some sort of primary caretaker or some mentor that you looked up to that really kind of ingrained that into your mind? Was there a religious group that was indoctrinating you and telling you these things? What messages did you receive from authority figures, or maybe even society, about these particular beliefs and what you should believe? It's important to assess reoccurring patterns patterns that you notice about yourself. It's important to assess how you talk to yourself internally in your internal dialogue. It's important to write about any sort of fears and insecurities that come up when you think about potentially shifting your belief about this particular thing. And then at the end of the journaling exercise, I would like you to write out what would it look like if you completely shed these limiting beliefs. Really paint a vivid picture of what it could like if you let go of the idea that you're going to hell or that something bad is going to happen if you don't do XYZ. What the world would look like if spirits did actually exist and you wanted to communicate with them. Or maybe what the world would look like if you could actually go after your dreams without any sort of fear of, oh my gosh, will my family approve? Will my friends approve? Can I even afford to do this? Yes, being realistic about your dreams and goals is important, but right now we're just talking about the limiting beliefs that are hindering you from even going after them in the first place. I remember when I was a hardcore atheist and it was really difficult to get myself to believe in anything supernatural or spiritual, anything at all. I was so critical and rational minded, but I wanted to believe. I wanted to believe so badly, and I wished that I was one of those people that could just easily work with spirits and not constantly be so critical and questioning myself. And I really sat down and journaled many times about this and traced my beliefs all the way back to my father, who is also a hardcore atheist. And I felt like in order to gain his approval as a child that I had to adopt his belief system, or that if I believed in supernatural things, then I was weird, I was silly, I was childish, I was all of these things that I didn't want to be perceived as. And so there was this fear of people thinking I'm silly for believing in such childish things, and also wanting the approval of my atheist father. And so by going through this process of journaling and identifying where this belief came from and why it developed in the first place, I was able to really sit with myself in meditation and say, you know what? If I'm truly wanting my father's approval, I don't think it's gonna happen whether I'm atheist or not. And I was able to make this conscious decision for myself that I was gonna believe in what I wanted, not what my parents wanted me to believe in. And if you are at this point of self-realization where you've already kind of started detaching yourself from ego a little bit, able to look at it through a more objective lens and really figure out where all of your beliefs are coming from, but you still feel like you can't move past that and you can't believe in these new paradigms, there are a couple techniques that I wanted to share in this video. I personally really love, I kind of call them a cross between audio sigils and audio signatures, or audio or meditation mantra. It's not a true mantra though, and I don't want to degrade the word mantra that way because it's not a true mantra, but you have this phrase that embodies this new belief that you really want to adopt. And you can either take the phrase as is, or for me, I like to cancel out all the vowels so it only leaves the sounding consonants. And the reason why you do that is just to shorten it up so it's just a bunch of sounds, but the sounding consonants still leave the integrity of the words intact. So if you were to have a phrase, I believe in fairies, because you want to start working with fairies and you don't believe that they exist, or whatever it is, you could take that phrase, I believe in fairies, I believe in fairies. Now this sounds very Peter Pan, doesn't it? Because isn't there a scene in Peter Pan where it's like, I believe in fairies, I do. I don't know. Anyways, you could cancel out all the vowels and then it would just be b, v, s. Does that make sense? And then you have these sounds that you chant over and over again as you enter an altered state of consciousness. So you go into a meditation, you close your eyes, and you chant these sounding consonants over and over and over again until they begin to kind of slur together, and it's a little bit like nonsense, but that's okay because you're just using that to lure yourself deeper into an altered state of consciousness. And the sounds, the vibrations of those words mixing with your subconscious mind can be really helpful in kind of reprogramming your mind. Another thing I want to bring up here is subliminal messaging. I think subliminal messaging is really, really helpful. So what you could do is you could record your own voice, really reciting phrases from a new paradigm, a new belief system that you want to adopt, and make a 20-minute, 30-minute recording or whatever it is, and then play it every night as you start to fall asleep. So as you descend in your brainwave states and you go into a sleep state, you are implanting these new ideas and beliefs into your mind as you listen. I think subliminal messaging is so fantastic. So definitely don't be afraid to create your own tapes and tracks of the things that you want to believe in. Another thing is positive affirmations and putting them on post-it notes everywhere. I'm not even kidding. Write affirmations on Post-it notes of new ideas that you want to adopt, new belief systems, and then post them everywhere. Post them on your workstation, put them on your mirror so you see them every day as you're doing your hair, your makeup, whatever it is. Put it in the bottom left-hand corner of your car windshield. Don't put it in the front, you know, where you're trying to drive and stuff. That's dangerous. But just in the bottom corner of your windshield as you're driving to work, you can have a little Post-it note there. Positive affirmations really can help rewire the brain. So I highly recommend getting some sort of Post-it system and then using that for a couple months until you find that you don't really need them anymore. I think it's also really powerful to surround yourself with people that also have adopted these new ideas and beliefs, because we really do kind of morph to the beliefs of everyone else around us. It's inevitable. If you're in a relationship with someone and they have a certain hardcore belief about something, chances are you two will eventually meet in the middle somewhere and kind of influence each other's beliefs. So try to make some friends that support your new belief system, whatever it is that you want to adopt, and then you can get that positive feedback and encouragement and have a little community to really talk to, especially when you're feeling extra doubtful. So I hope this quick little video has been helpful. I really wanted to, there was a couple comments on some of my videos of people wanting me to talk about deconditioning the mind. It really is such a huge topic, and I wish I had book recommendations. I do. Unfortunately, I have not come across a book that really discusses this in the way that I think it should be discussed. So I'm still looking for a good book on this topic, but I will say that pretty much any book that has some sort of Buddhist flair is going to be really friendly towards topics like this, because they are going to be talking about non-attachment, kind of separating yourself from ego, which really just kind of helps you with the whole paradigm shifting, removing limiting beliefs anyways. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in another video soon.